Audie Murphy, the most decorated man of World War II, who went on to become a movie star, was found dead this afternoon in the wreckage of a light plane in the hills of Virginia.
Audie Murphy was America's most decorated war hero, a brave soldier turned movie star. To many, he was a symbol of courage and strength. But behind the fame, something did not add up. His sudden death in a plane crash shocked the world. But now, new questions are being asked, and the answers are troubling. The Audie Murphy mystery is far from over. Strange facts, missing details, and whispers of silence point to a story darker than anyone expected. Was it just an accident? Or was someone trying to hide the truth? The deeper we look, the more chilling it becomes. What happened to Audie Murphy? Join us as we reveal the mystery that is worse than we thought. Audie Murphy's brave journey. Audie Murphy was a young boy from Texas who may have seemed shy but was very brave. His life was greatly influenced by war, and he faced many challenges. He joined the army by lying about his age, but his actions after joining were what mattered most. His first story is remembered as one of the most remarkable in American history. Audie was born on June 20th, 1922, close to Kingston, Texas. This date would later be a topic of discussion, but it was the day the world greeted a boy who would become a famous soldier. Following the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, the U.S. joined World War II. When Audie turned 17, he enlisted in the Army with a strong desire to serve his country. Despite his small size and young age, he faced doubts and showed he had a strong determination. He was sent to Camp Walters in Texas for basic training. Due to his young appearance and small stature, he earned the nickname Babyface. However, Murphy was not there to show off his looks. He was there to serve, fight, and protect. Despite his ordinary appearance, he had inner strength. He put in a lot of effort during training, and eventually, the same young man who was once teased was making progress in his military career. During the war, Murphy traveled to different places to fight. He showed courage in North Africa, Sicily, and participated in the landings at Anzio. He continued fighting across France. Despite starting as a private, he was promoted to staff sergeant due to his leadership and bravery. He was then given a battlefield commission to become a second lieutenant at just 19 years old, even though his papers stated he was 20. On January 26, 1945, a significant event occurred near Holtzwihr in France. The weather was cold, and the terrain was rugged. Murphy had become the leader of Company B, 15th Infantry Regiment, 3rd Infantry Division. On that day, his company faced a strong assault from German tanks and soldiers. The air was chaotic with the sounds of battle. Smoke filled the sky, and the situation became perilous quickly. Recognizing the danger, Murphy instructed his soldiers to retreat to a safer, wooded area close by. However, he chose to remain at his post, holding a field telephone, requesting artillery backup. He mentioned later that he requested fire on his location because the enemy was very near. Despite the scary situation, he remained steadfast. A U.S. tank destroyer named an M10 Hellcat was hit nearby, and flames started to come out of it. The crew ran for safety, but Murphy ran towards the burning vehicle instead of away. Despite the risk of explosion, he didn't hesitate and climbed on top of it to operate the machine gun. He found himself standing on a burning tank destroyer, vulnerable and outnumbered by approaching German soldiers. The extraordinary events that followed were astounding. Murphy started shooting the machine gun, hitting enemy troops as they approached. Despite facing enemy fire, he remained steadfast. German soldiers were being taken down. The tanks, which were once advancing with confidence, started retreating when they saw that they were no longer supported by their infantry. The fight continued for almost an hour. The German soldiers did their best to defeat him, but they were unsuccessful. At one moment, the enemy troops came very close to him, only 10 yards away. Despite being gunned in the leg, he continued to fight. He remained in his position until he ran out of bullets. After that, he went back to his unit. He declined medical assistance and instead prepared his soldiers for a counteroffensive. As a result, the company fought back and compelled the Germans to withdraw. According to some accounts, Murphy was credited with killing over 240 enemy soldiers on that day by himself. The exact number may be subject to debate, but what is clear is the incredible courage he displayed when it was wanted the most. A few months later, on June 2, 1945, a ceremony was held in Austria where Lieutenant General Alexander M. Patch presented the Medal of Honor to Murphy. A reporter observed that Murphy appeared too young to have a mustache, but he had accomplished something incredible at a young age. After the war ended, Murphy attempted to start over. He appeared in movies and even portrayed himself in a film about his wartime experiences. He posed for photos, attended fancy events, and mingled with celebrities. However, the emotional scars from the war stayed with him. Despite his outward appearances, he still struggled with the haunting memories of the tragedies he witnessed and the friends he lost. Audie Murphy's tale is not just about the accolades he received. It's about a humble boy from Texas who showed immense courage when it counted. He didn't allow fear to overpower him. His bravery was not showy, but unwavering, resolute, and sincere. During wartime, he gave his all, and even afterwards, he continued to strive to lead a life that honored the peace he fought for. Let's look into the struggles of Audie Murphy in the beginning of his acting career. From the battlefield to the big screen. Audie Murphy was already loved by the country as a war hero, but his transition to Hollywood showed a new side of him. He struggled in the beginning, but eventually became a well-known actor, showing his growth and determination. From 1948 to 1969, he starred in over 40 movies and a TV series. However, beneath his successful career was a quiet man still coping with life after war. The story started in a calm but unexpected manner. Actor James Cagney noticed Murphy on the front of a Life magazine from 1945 and was impressed. He decided to bring Murphy to Hollywood, along with his brother William, and signed him to their production company. They provided Murphy with training in acting, voice, and dance, but he never ended up in any of their movies. Their collaboration came to an end in 1947 after a disagreement. Murphy persevered and decided to live at Terry Hunt's Athletic Club in Hollywood until 1948. While there, he dedicated himself to enhancing his acting abilities. Under the guidance of Estelle Harmon, an acting coach, Murphy rehearsed lines and delved into works by renowned playwrights like William Shakespeare and William Saroyan. This practice boosted his confidence and improved his communication skills. Although he wasn't perfect, Murphy was making progress. When a Hollywood writer named David "Spec" McClure befriended him, things started to change. McClure assisted him in writing his memoir titled To Hell and Back, which talked about his experiences as a soldier. The book helped to keep Murphy famous. With the help of his connections in the industry, McClure helped Murphy secure a small role in the movie Texas, Brooklyn, and Heaven in 1948. That small role marked a new start for him. Meanwhile, Murphy was in a relationship with actress Wanda Hendricks. Through her connections, Hendricks's talent agent helped Murphy land a minor part in the movie Beyond Glory, which also featured Alan Ladd. Gradually, Murphy's presence started to be seen on the big screen, albeit briefly. In 1949, Murphy's major opportunity came with the movie Bad Boy, where he landed his first starring role. The investors initially preferred someone else for the lead role, but the film production was only approved if Murphy was cast. Despite some initial reluctance, the studio eventually agreed, and it turned out to be a wise choice. Shortly after that, Universal Studios gave Murphy a 7-year deal. He would be paid $2,500 each week, which was considered a big amount back then. His movie as part of this new contract was The Kid from Texas in 1950, in which he portrayed Billy the Kid. He then appeared in 2 more films, Sierra, which he starred in alongside his wife at that time, Wanda Hendricks, and Kansas Raiders, where he played Jesse James. In 1951, MGM borrowed Audie Murphy from Universal and paid him a lot of money to star in The Red Badge of Courage, a movie directed by John Huston. Murphy and Huston had a good working relationship, and they teamed up again in 1960 for another film called The Unforgiven. In 1952, Murphy starred in only one movie called The Duel at Silver Creek. He collaborated with director Don Siegel, with whom he would also work on The Gunrunners in 1958. The next year, he appeared in westerns like Column South and Tumbleweed, taking on different characters to enhance his acting skills. In 1954, Murphy played the lead role in Destry, a retelling of the movie Destry Rides Again. The film was directed by George Marshall and was inspired by a popular character from Max Brand's books. Murphy was gaining a reputation as a dependable actor in Western movies. In 1955, there was a turning point in his career when Murphy agreed to play himself in the movie adaptation of his book, To Hell and Back. The film, directed by Jesse Hibbs, was a huge success for Universal Studios and resonated with audiences due to Murphy's real-life experiences. Murphy appeared on popular TV shows to promote the movie. He went from being a war hero to a famous Hollywood actor. He had a great working relationship with director Jesse Hibbs, and they made 5 more movies together. Some of these movies were westerns like Walk the Proud Land, while others were different genres like Joe Butterfly and World in My Corner. Their last movie together was Ride a Crooked Trail in 1958. In the same year, Murphy had a leading role in The Quiet American, where he demonstrated his talent for playing complicated characters. The movie was directed by Joseph L. Mankiewicz and allowed Murphy to display his development as an actor. Murphy started collaborating with others secretly. He teamed up with producer Harry Joe Brown on some movies. Their first film, The Guns of Fort Petticoat, was finished. However, they had a falling out, and the other movies they planned to make together never happened. In 1957, he starred in Night Passage with James Stewart. The next year, he had more acting opportunities. He was in The Wild and the Innocent with Sandra Dee, and also helped produce Cast a Long Shadow. In No Name on the Bullet, Murphy portrayed a hired assassin, earning praise from critics for his performance. Television also became part of Murphy's career in 1960, when he appeared in a StarTime episode called The Man, with Thelma Ritter. That year, the United States Army recognized Murphy for his role in The Big Picture, a show about military life. The show featured Murphy visiting military bases worldwide, and he was awarded a medal for his work. Murphy worked with writer Claire Huffaker on films like 7 Ways from Sundown and Posse from Hell in 1961. He also collaborated with Willard and Mary Willingham, who were not only his friends, but also his creative partners. Willard helped produce Murphy's TV series Whispering Smith, and the Willinghams wrote scripts for many of his westerns, such as Gunpoint and 40 Guns to Apache Pass, which ended up being his final leading film. In 1966, Murphy went to Israel to shoot a movie called Trunk to Cairo, showing that he was open to trying out different roles and working in new places. His last movie, A Time for Dying, came out in 1969. The script was written by director Bud Boetticher, who Murphy had known since meeting at Terry Hunt's boxing club. They had hoped to collaborate on more films, but unfortunately, those plans never came to fruition. Murphy's journey in the film industry may appear effortless from an outsider's perspective, but it was filled with challenges and persistence. He started in Hollywood without any prior experience, facing constant underestimation and neglect. However, he continued to show up, grow, and enhance his skills. Could this be the reason behind his divorce to Wanda? Let's look into it. A life of fame and private side. Audie Murphy, a highly decorated American soldier from World War II, had a personal life that was as intricate as his military and acting careers. Beyond what people saw, he went through love, loss, money troubles, and emotional battles. Even though there were happy times in his post-war life, he also faced challenges that pushed his limits. In 1949, Murphy wed actress Wanda Hendricks. Unfortunately, their marriage was brief as they split in 1951. The divorce marked a disappointing end to what had started optimistically. However, Murphy quickly found love again. Only 4 days after his divorce, he tied the knot with Pamela Opal Lee Archer, a former stewardess. Their relationship brought a sense of stability to his life, and they had 2 sons, Terry Michael and James Shannon, together. Murphy cared deeply for his family and took immense pleasure in his role as a father. Outside of his personal life, Murphy had a deep love for horses. He had ranches in Menifee, California, and Pima County, Arizona, where he bred quarter horses. These ranches served as tranquil retreats for him, away from the busyness of Hollywood and the reminders of war. His horses competed at the Del Mar racetrack, and he dedicated a significant amount of resources to this passion. Raising and racing horses brought Murphy joy and a sense of peace that he found hard to come by in other aspects of his life. However, things were not all going well for him. He started to have financial difficulties. Murphy, like many people, made investments that ended up failing. His biggest loss was in 1968, when he lost $260,000 in an oil investment in Algeria. Additionally, he was having issues with the IRS because of unpaid taxes. He struggled with money problems for years, leaving him in a tough financial situation. Even though Murphy faced challenges, he remained true to his beliefs. He was frequently offered opportunities to promote cigarettes and alcohol in commercials, which would have made him rich. However, he consistently turned them down. He was concerned about setting a negative example, especially for his young fans. Murphy understood that being famous meant having a certain level of accountability, and he took that responsibility seriously, even at personal expense. Murphy faced more than just financial difficulties. He also struggled with a fierce temper and found himself in violent situations at times. His quick reflexes, which had been beneficial during his time in the military, became a problem in civilian life. In May 1970, he was arrested in Burbank, California, for battery and assault with intent to commit executed after getting into a fight with a dog trainer. He was accused of firing a gun, although he denied it. Eventually, all charges against him were dropped. This incident highlighted how easily conflict seemed to find him and how challenging it was for him to move on from his wartime experiences. Despite facing personal challenges, Murphy maintained his ties to the military. Following World War II, his favorite 36th Infantry Division became part of the Texas Army National Guard, led by his friend Major General H. Miller Ainsworth and Brigadier General Carl L. Finney. When the Korean War began in 1950, Murphy embarked on his second military adventure. He was appointed a captain in the Texas Army National Guard and participated in summer training camps to assist in training new soldiers. He also permitted the Guard to utilize his image for recruitment efforts. Murphy wanted to continue serving in the military while pursuing his film career. He was disappointed when his unit was not sent to Korea. In 1951, he requested inactive status due to his busy film schedule. However, He returned to active duty in 1955 and was promoted to major in 1956. He then went back to inactive status in 1957. His military career officially ended in 1969 when he left the Texas Army National Guard for the United States Army Reserve, and later entered the Retired Reserve. Audie Murphy experienced both great successes and difficult moments throughout his life. He was recognized for his bravery in war, became a famous actor, and was known for his dedication to his family. However, he also struggled with the weight of his traumatic experiences, the grief of losing loved ones, and the pressure of his responsibilities. He encountered obstacles that were not always visible to others and made decisions that reflected his strong sense of integrity, even when there were consequences. Murphy's life is more than just about his military honors and film achievements. It is a tale of a man seeking inner peace in a world that rarely allowed him to find solace. Silent battle after the war. After Audie Murphy came back from fighting in World War II, many thought his difficulties were finished. He had managed to survive intense battles, received medals and admiration, and was recognized as a genuine hero of America. However, what most didn't realize was that Murphy's toughest struggles were about to start. These challenges were no longer against enemies on a battlefield, but within his thoughts, and haunted him wherever he went. After the war, authorities thought about admitting Murphy to West Point. Discussions were held, documents were exchanged, and thoughts were shared. Murphy appeared to show interest in the opportunity. However, he ultimately did not go. Scholars believe he may have decided against it when he understood the rigorous academic requirements for West Point. It wasn't only about being a war hero, it entailed intense studying of various subjects and passing exams. After years of combat, he may not have been emotionally or mentally prepared for such a challenging path. Instead, Murphy was directed to go to Fort Sam Houston in San Antonio, Texas, along with other soldiers. This happened on June 8, 1945. Just a few days later, on June 13th, he reached the base and was put in a small group at the Fort Sam Houston Army Ground and Services Redistribution Station. After that, he was granted a 30-day break. During this time, he could journey throughout the U.S., relax, and recuperate. It was a period for him to relax, take a break, and be recognized. He was widely recognized and celebrated. Parades and banquets were held in his honor. People greeted him warmly with food and smiles. Speeches were given, expressing gratitude and praise. He was admired wherever he went. On August 21, he finally received the Good Conduct Medal after some delay. A month later, on September 21st, Murphy left the military officially. He was discharged as a first lieutenant and given a 50% disability classification. He then joined the Officers Reserve Corps to maintain a connection to the military world without full-time duties. However, despite being viewed as a hero by the public, Murphy was struggling with inner pain. He experienced sleepless nights and was plagued by nightmares. Memories from the war constantly resurfaced in his mind. To cope with his anxiety, he kept a gun under his pillow as a precaution against potential danger. These unsettling emotions lingered with him for an extended period of time. In 1947, a medical examination showed how much he was suffering. He had frequent headaches and sometimes vomited. He found it difficult to sleep and had ongoing nightmares. To sleep better, he started taking sleeping pills. While they provided temporary relief, they didn't cure his condition, only masked the symptoms. Over time, he became dependent on a harmful substance known as Placidil. This substance helped him relax and sleep. However, by the 1960s, he realized that this reliance was becoming a problem. He made a courageous choice to overcome it. He isolated himself in a hotel room for a week to deal with the withdrawal symptoms alone. It was tough, but he was able to overcome the addiction. Despite this, Murphy continued to struggle emotionally. While he had always been a serious person, his mood became darker and more intense after the war. Those closest to him were sometimes worried about the depth of his emotions. His first wife, Dixie Wanda Hendricks, even said he threatened her with a gun during a difficult moment. She also witnessed how deeply he was impacted by the pain of others. For instance, after watching a video of German war orphans, he cried uncontrollably, feeling overwhelming guilt and sadness. Murphy used poetry as a way to convey his emotions. He started writing to let out his feelings that were bottled up inside. One of his poems, The Crosses Grow on Anzio, showed his sadness and recollections. He put this poem in his book To Hell and Back, but credited it to a made-up character instead of himself. Murphy openly shared his challenges and talked about them, especially when he saw new groups of soldiers coming back from the Korean and Vietnam Wars. He wanted people to comprehend the inner struggles these men faced after the wars. Back then, it was known as battle fatigue or shell shock, but Murphy believed it was deeper than that. He urged the government to focus more on these emotional wounds and offer meaningful assistance to those in pain. His hard work was recognized. Even after he passed away in 1971, a new law was proposed by the U.S. Congressman Olin Teague just 5 months later. This resulted in the establishment of the Audie Murphy Memorial, a hospital in San Antonio. The hospital provided assistance to many veterans and became a part of the South Texas Veterans Healthcare System. Audie Murphy's journey didn't stop after the war. The Final Flight and Everlasting Echo. On a calm day in May 1971, the world mourned the loss of Audie Murphy, a highly respected war hero who had survived the terrors of World War II with incredible bravery. He did not die in battle, but in a plane crash in Virginia, not far from Roanoke. The weather was bad, with heavy rain, thick clouds, and dense fog that made it nearly impossible to see. These dangerous conditions led to the tragic accident that took the lives of everyone on board. The pilot of the small twin-engine Aero Commander 680 plane had a private license and was experienced with around 8,000 hours of flying time. However, he did not have the necessary rating to fly using instruments only, which led to the plane crashing into the side of a mountain without visibility. The crash resulted in the deaths of the pilot, Murphy, and 4 other passengers. The wreckage was discovered days later on May 31st. Audie Murphy's death caused great sadness for his loved ones and fans across the nation. His wife, Pamela Murphy, struggled to cope and eventually settled into a modest lifestyle. She found work at the Sepulveda Veterans Administration Hospital in LA, where she dedicated 35 years to helping veterans with the same integrity as her late husband. A couple of days following the accident on June 7, 1971, Audie Murphy was buried at Arlington National Cemetery, a location typically reserved for the country's top heroes. The service was filled with admiration and reverence. Prominent individuals like George H.W. Bush, who was serving as the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations at the time, and Army Chief of Staff William Westmoreland, along with many others from the 3rd Infantry Division, gathered to honor him. The burial site was thoughtfully selected in Section 46, directly facing the stunning Memorial Amphitheater. Thousands of visitors still come to visit Murphy's burial site. A flagstone walkway was built to help guide the many visitors. His grave is the 2nd most popular in Arlington National Cemetery, right after President John F. Kennedy's. Murphy did not want his grave to be extravagant like other Medal of Honor recipients. He wanted to be remembered as a simple and humble soldier. His headstone shows his birth year as 1924, a date that may have been changed in his military records during his service. After the tragedy, people found various ways to remember and pay tribute to Murphy. In 1974, a significant stone marker was installed near the crash site in memory of him. The marker sits peacefully by the Appalachian Trail, surrounded by nature's tranquility, high in the mountains. A year later, in 1975, the court granted $2.5 million in compensation to Audie's wife, Pamela, and their 2 sons for his death in the accident. However, no amount of money could fill the void left by the loss of their loved one. Even after Murphy passed away, his fame did not diminish. While he was alive, he had already been honored with several awards from civilians. After he passed away, he received even more recognition. He was commemorated with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame for his contributions to the film industry. In 2013, Texas honored him with the Texas Legislative Medal of Honor, the state's highest military award. Murphy had a hidden talent for poetry, which was discovered by David McClure while they were working on his memoir, To Hell and Back. McClure found handwritten poems that Murphy had discarded in his Hollywood apartment, including a powerful poem titled The Crosses Grow on Anzio, which was published in the book under a different name. In addition to this poem, only 2 other poems by Murphy are known today: Alone and Far Removed and Freedom Flies in Your Heart Like an Eagle. The latter was originally part of a speech Murphy wrote for a memorial in Alabama, and was later adapted into an emotional song called Dusty Old Helmet. Even though he had a love for country music, particularly artists such as Bob Wills and Chet Atkins, Murphy never sang or played an instrument. He just liked listening to music. However, in 1961, he was introduced to songwriter Scott Turner through a mutual friend, singer Guy Mitchell. This meeting sparked something unique. From 1962 to 1970, the 2 collaborated on writing multiple songs. Some of their popular songs included Shutters and Boards and When the Wind Blows in Chicago. This showed a different side of Murphy, one that was gentle, reflective, and quietly artistic. Audie Murphy's 1971 death on a mountain is not the end of his story. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.